Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm eating clean, I'm taking my supplements, I exercise, I'm doing all the right things and I'm not getting results? And maybe there's something behind it. Maybe your emotional or spiritual health is affecting your health and why things aren't working. Well, we're going to dive into it today. Welcome to Accelerated Health with Sara Banta, where I cut through the noise and fast track your journey to better health. I'm your host, Sara Banta, and CEO, founder of Accelerated Health Products, certified by the National Association of Nutritional Professionals. I'm here to share the latest on supplements, wellness hacks, and natural health solutions that actually work, from boosting energy to detoxing to balancing hormones and everything in between. I will help you reach your optimal health. So let's dive in. I'm super excited to have Dr. Olivia come on. And she is a holistic physician trained in chiropractic, kinesiology, and traditional Chinese medicine, two of my favorite things. With her unique approach that blends functional and frequency medicine. I talk so much about frequency. It is the new way of medicine. She assists patients who have had exhausted countless of other options, facilitating breakthroughs in both their emotional well-being and physical health. Welcome, Dr. Olivia. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much. What a beautiful intro.
Well, I'm super excited. And, it's funny. I just went on a trip and I eat clean. I don't drink. I do my supplements. I work out. I do all the things that I talk about. I'm really boring, actually. And I'm very consistent. That is my middle name. And I was having this bloat and water retention, and it just did not make sense. And I realized it was part of a fear of going and traveling. And this was this blockage. And as soon as I got on my trip away from everything and realized that I wasn't going to die, all of those things went away, where I actually should have gotten more bloated and more retaining water with travel in the airplanes, radiation, and all the stuff. So there's something more to our health than just the physical. And that's why I'm super excited about today. So I thought first we would get into what started your journey. Why are you so passionate about what you're doing?
Oh, thank you. That's such a great question. So my journey actually started before I was even here. My mother actually had fertility issues. And so she didn't get her cycle until about 21 years old. And then at that point, she was on birth control and she was not getting a regular period. And she went to a holistic chiropractor. He actually was from Belgium originally, but he did muscle testing, he did frequency medicine, he did neuroemotional technique, which we'll get into. And he put her on this strict diet, gave her some supplements, did some emotional stuff, and was like, okay, you'll get your period in 3 months. And she was like, okay. So she follows everything perfectly. And 3 months go by and she, doesn't get her period. So she's devastated. And, she's with my father at the time and they end up sleeping together, and she actually got pregnant. So she got so fertile that she actually got pregnant. And if she wouldn't have had sex, she would have got her period. And so enter me into the story. So that's actually how I came here. And I got into this medicine through that practitioner. And so I kind of grew up in this field. I was a little baby, and instead of, my mom giving me like Advil or Tylenol, baby Tylenol or anything, when I got sick, she'd bring me to my holistic chiropractor. And he'd be like, oh, she's allergic to dairy. She's allergic to food dyes. I was super allergic to food dyes when I was a child, and there's this one story of when I was younger and I had like belly issues as like a toddler or something. And it ended up being an emotional thing. And he asked my mom, I was an infant at the time. He asked her, what happened? He's muscle testing. He's like, what happened on Thursday? And she's like, he goes, she had a fright, like something scared her. And my mom's like, what? Thinking back what happened on Thursday. And sure enough, she remembers I was with my dad and he got like my head stuck in like a onesie or something. And I'm like screaming bloody murder. And so even as an infant, I was getting emotional work done because that was affecting my digestion. And so I really grew up in this field. That's why I'm so passionate about it. And the thing that I tell patients is I grew up never being hopeless about my health. Like there was, if something happened, something came up, I would always feel like somebody had the answer for me. Like my doctor could muscle test me, someone could figure it out. Like I was never hopeless. And so that is one thing that I try to give patients back is like their hope that even if you have weird symptoms, even if something is no one else can figure it out, or we've gotten all these labs done. If it's not me, it's someone else in the field. Like we're so well connected. There's so many incredible frequency medicine, muscle testing practitioners out there. Like someone will be able to figure it out for you. And that's what I try to help patients with.
It's something that I spout off all the time because, my son, who Jackson, was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 9. And when we were able to overcome that, I thought anything's possible.
Totally.
This was God's way of showing me that anything is possible. And I tell my children that. I'm like, okay, I don't know what God's doing with this health issue or challenge, but there's a bigger story here. And we are strengthening the muscles that we're going to need for a future challenge. And that is what life's all about. It's not supposed to be easy, right?
Yes.
And it's supposed to be this life lesson. And for me, it's that it's not just supplements and diet and exercise, that you have to deal with the traumas that you've gone through or overcome whatever the emotional barriers are. And it's not about playing victim because, you're not going to be, I'm the person that was molested as a child. That's not your identity, but you use it, you get over it, or you work through it. And then you move on to who you are truly meant to be in the purest form. And it's never going to be perfect, but that your practice is one way of getting through those barriers that people can't do on their own. We're just not equipped. And I also think in modern day society, we are so dumbed down by our cell phones and all of the bad frequencies, the EMFs and everything that is attacking our nervous systems, that we don't even know who we are anymore. We don't have that connection. So anyway, I want to get into what is frequency medicine in layman's terms. What does that even mean?
Yes. Okay. So I explain frequency medicine like this. Down to the smallest level, everything vibrates. And so everything carries its own unique frequency or vibration. This is like its own unique signal. So your bone vibrates differently than, your liver cell, differently than your heart cell, differently than a parasite would, or a virus. Even a virus has a frequency. Everything has its own frequency. And so your body is constantly monitoring all of the different frequencies that are going on in your body and what is harmonious and what is dysfunctional. And when there's dysfunctional, even they can measure the frequency of a cancer cell. That has a different frequency than a healthy cell or like a stem cell. And so we can look at these different frequencies and see, okay, which ones are harmonious and then which ones are dysfunctional. And then how does your body specifically want to heal or harmonize the dysfunctional frequencies? And that's kind of where frequency medicine comes in. And so what I do is I tell people, I'm like, I basically frequency match. I find what the frequencies that are off, the ones that are, dysfunctional, maybe harmful. And then I figure out, okay, what frequencies of things, right? Because supplements carry frequency. Everything carries a frequency. Supplements carry frequencies. You can act like light carries frequency. So you can use light therapy. You can use sound therapy. You can use supplements. You can use emotional work because vibration, words carry frequency. And so you can figure out which frequencies are now going to cancel out the negative one or harmonize it so that your body ultimately can heal. Because that's all I do. I say I'm a professional roadblock remover. I don't really do anything fancy. All I do is remove the roadblocks from your body so that your body can heal naturally.
And the body's a miracle. That's the thing. You're just taking out the roadblocks.
Exactly.
And when you're talking about everything has its own frequency, this is why devices like the biocharger or the Kiwi or the Skio machine, which was what essentially was what I was introduced to when I was at my rock bottom, and my practitioner was telling me things about me that no one knew, because everything has that frequency. And so it matches that frequency to disarm it, like you're saying, or harmonize it within your body. And as we're in this world of all these different viruses going on and parasites, and and every little thing has its own frequency. And they're living inside of you, and we want to get some of them out. This is definitely something that is very helpful. So on the energetic level, how are you using frequency healing to help with that physical healing? So are you pairing it with different supplements and diet and other modalities, or take us through what you do exactly?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, one thing I'll say is people always ask me, what's the difference between frequency medicine and functional medicine? Because everybody knows kind of what functional medicine is. And I say functional medicine is typically you're looking at labs, you're looking at lifestyle, you're maybe prescribing supplements, you're figuring out, okay, what are the values that are off, and then how can we fix it from a snapshot in time? Okay. But frequency medicine looks at and measures how your body is responding in real time. Because if you look at labs, they might have different lab values off, but nothing's going to really tell you, okay, but why? That's always the question I'm asking. Okay, but why is this lab value off? Like maybe your vitamin D is low. You know, in functional medicine, we're like, okay, well, let's give them vitamin D. But then it's like, well, why is your vitamin D low? You know, is it an absorption issue? Is it, you know, so there's so many different layers to that. And what goes even deeper with frequency medicine is sometimes it is a structural issue or a brain issue, or it's a chemical, you know, that's where functional medicine really lives in, is the chemical category, or there's an emotional issue. And so what I do with frequency medicine is I figure out, okay, what is off? And then how does your specific body want to heal from that? And there's typically 4 different categories that I look at. Is it a structural issue? You know, is it something going on with the spine? I am a chiropractor. Okay, is it your nervous system? I categorize that in structure as well. Is it your brain? Is it your nerves? Is something going off in the circuitry? Is it a chemical issue? Okay, that's more functional medicine. That's hidden infections, supplements, hormonal issues, food sensitivities. And then lastly, the category that is often missed is emotional. Is it an emotional root cause issue that is actually changing your physiology and allowing you to express those symptoms? And I tell people that your body is infinitely smart. I mean, Sarah, you know this. Like your body is so smart, and your body knows, number one, what's wrong and how it wants to fix it. And so I just use frequency medicine to interpret the language of the body, figuring out, okay, what's wrong, but how does your specific body want to heal from that? Perfect example I'll give you is parasites. Everybody's talking about parasite cleanses. And I think it's great. You know, people definitely need a parasite cleanse. And there are definitely parasites in people. I've seen them come out of people. But what I will see often is a recurring parasite infection. Okay, we're doing all the parasite cleanses and doing all the right things. Like, why do they keep coming back? And what I find as an emotional root cause is typically that person has some sort of parasitic relationship in their life. And so they have, you know, a child that is, you know, taking a lot of energy from them, or they have a family member or a spouse or work or something in their life is extremely parasitic and is sucking all their resources and all their energy.
Yeah.
And so when we heal that emotional trauma or help them repair that relationship, then the parasite infection will go away. And so there's infinite combinations and possibilities. That is why I love frequency medicine, because your specific body will be able to tell me what's going on.
That is so interesting. I'm going to have to really meditate on that, as I have recovered from a really horrific parasitic infection that was literally, the worms were coming out of my skin. And it was combined with shingles, and it was triggered by spike protein and then some other things. That was like all a firestorm. But what was interesting at that time, and you kind of touched on this, is when my thyroid numbers had come down, my testosterone numbers had come down, but they should, because my body's smart, because my body was fighting this infection over here. So we do want to go into survival mode. We do want to put the resources towards fighting this infection, this immune system issue, where some practitioners wanted to throw testosterone at me or T3 medication at me, which would have actually backed up my liver and put more stress on my body, right? So the body's smart, and it needs to heal and take care of these things the way it's meant to, without putting more fuel to the fire, Whereas what you're doing is you're removing the roadblocks so the body can take care of the things it's supposed to do and it wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, the body is the miracle and it can do the magic. Now, you mentioned the neuro-emotional technique in the brain. Can you dive into that a little bit more as far as the emotional trauma and healing?
Absolutely. So neuro-emotional technique is probably my favorite technique that I practice. And it works on healing the it works on healing the emotional trauma and stress that is stored in the physical body. And so this is really unique because, not to trash talk therapy. I think talk therapy is amazing and I think it's wonderful. But sometimes you can talk about something all day long till the cows come home and you're still going to feel the same trigger because it's stored in the physiology. And when something affects you and it is not processed appropriately and it actually gets stored in the body, then it can just be re-triggered throughout life.
Mm-hmm.
And this can happen all the way from childhood, and you can keep having the same trigger or emotional pattern show up in your life. And over time, that can develop into physical symptoms. Or even something, can happen recently that causes some sort of, like your example, you had the fear of traveling and you notice your body is holding onto this water retention. I see that all the time. There's some sort of emotional thing that happened that the body didn't fully process, and then it starts to express as physical symptoms. And I tell people too, any chronic issue, I have never found a chronic issue that doesn't have some sort of emotional root cause.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's going on, from chronic viral infections to parasites to gut issues to hair loss, like, not that there's not chemical stuff going on, but if it's chronic, there is always, always, always some sort of emotional root cause that is also feeding that. And a neuroemotional technique uses Chinese medicine. And so they use the concept that every organ system carries an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so our lungs, for example, are related to grief. I actually had this patient the other day and she has this chronic cough. And she's like, yeah, I've had all these tests done. Like, no one can find anything. My heart's fine. My lungs are fine. All the scans. My favorite. When someone has all the scans and all the tests and they're like, I don't know what's wrong. I'm like, okay, I'll find. I'll figure it out. So has this chronic cough and I'm, doing some emotional work on her. And I'm like, okay, interesting. It's coming up as emotional. And I had just met this woman, know nothing about her. And she told me that, I like, well, what happened, 7 years ago? Because in NET, you can actually figure out what happened when. Because a lot of the times the stuff that happens to us, we think we process it and we kind of move on and it lives in our subconscious, but you can't heal what you're not conscious of.
Right.
And so NET brings the subconscious stuff that's affecting us conscious. And so she's like, oh, well, 7 years ago, I lost my husband. And the grief lives in the lungs. And ever since then, she's had this chronic cough. And so stuff like that happens every single day, where there's some physical symptom and I, touch the organ or I touch the reflex point and I'm like, there's something emotional here. And then it's like, whoa, it opens up this can of worms for people. And it's so powerful because once that is clear, I really have seen miracles happen with people's health. Then all of the incredible stuff like the supplements and the lifestyle changes and, the biohacking, then all of it, boom, it works immediately.
Right.
But until that emotional root cause is addressed, sometimes people get really stuck in their health.
Well, I see it within my own family, people, because I do what I do. I feed my family the way I personally eat. I've got all the supplements at their disposal. They have no idea how lucky they are. So we have all the stuff, right? But they'll still say, well, why isn't this going away? Or why can't this issue go away or whatever? And I'm sitting there going, it's stress. Because what you're talking about, the emotional stress or the emotional trauma is a stressor of a sort, right? And anytime you've got a stressor, your body is protective. It's going into survival mode. I mean, the number one physical manifestation of chronic stress is, okay, let's put on the belly fat to protect our expensive organs, right? We need to protect ourselves from the attacks. Or if we need some sort of barrier to protect us emotionally from someone that's threatening us, well, we're probably going to put on an extra layer of fat, right? That's how this emotional stuff can manifest. And when people do my liver cleanse, it's always interesting because during the prep, they'll say, why am I more angry than normal? It's because you are stirring up those emotions and your liver holds on to that anger and frustration. And the kidneys hold on to fear. Well, here I had the fear of travel. What do the kidneys do? They process the body water. And of course, I was retaining a ton of water. I mean, literally 3 to 4 pounds of water out of nowhere. It was crazy. So this stuff is real and it's tangible. And when you are just going by the book, calories in, calories out, I'm going to Orange Theory, I'm trying to sleep, I'm eating clean, or I'm fasting, which we can, that's a whole nother topic as far as some of those things could be added stressors to your body, but you're not dealing with the emotional traumas that you have to overcome for complete healing. You're not going to get anywhere. You're going to take one step forward and 2 steps back.
Absolutely.
So I love that you are addressing this and not just in one technique. That's what's so amazing. Where do you think Chinese medicine has it so right, and where Western medicine has gotten it so wrong?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, I love Chinese medicine because going off of the language of the body, there's the meridians that run all along our body with all the different meridians and how they're tied to different organ systems. And so based on where things are happening in the body, you have a pretty good indication of what meridian or organ system is weak. So perfect examples like skin, where people's eczema shows up or where their acne shows up on their face, or even like pain, oh, I have this pain here. I have this rash, I have, or even just pressing in certain areas along certain channels. When I do some acupressure with patients, and I'll press on an acupuncture point and they will almost jump off the table. And I'm like, I barely touched you, but based on the meridian system, you can really see what is going on in the body and what organ systems are weak. And I love, my favorite example is the liver, right? Because we focus heavily on the liver, in Western medicine and even in alternative medicine stuff. We're always looking at the liver, which is great because our world is toxic and we do need to support our liver. But in Chinese medicine, the kidneys are feeding into the liver. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's actually a kidney weakness, and not kidneys in the typical sense that we think of like the kidney organ. It's more of the kidney essence in Chinese medicine, which is like our Jing, our life force energy. Mm-hmm. And if that is depleted, then the liver, which is the kidneys feeds into the liver, then the liver is going to show symptoms. Mm-hmm. And so the way that Chinese medicine thinks is so different than Western medicine, and it will give you so many clues as to what is the actual root problem. Is it the liver or is it the kidneys?
Right. I always go back to my mom fell off her horse at 80 years old. She had to be put on pain medication, broke her pelvis. Well, the pain medication, of course, raised her liver enzymes, and the doctor said, absolutely no supplements. And here we're putting you on steroids to lower your liver enzymes, which of course only makes the numbers on the blood test look better. Mm-hmm. But they're not addressing any of the other things that are going on in the kidneys or the body. And the way Western medicine looks at the body is like, here, I'm the liver doctor. I'm looking at the liver. I don't know about your kidneys. I don't know about the pelvic bone that just broke. Mm-hmm. I don't care about that. I'm just looking at the liver. And we're not just all of these pieces. We are one system that works cohesively together. And I love that. And that's why I do a lot of Chinese medicine herbals, and we include a lot of those herbs in the accelerated health products. And that's why I love our formulas, because they combine that with the modern nutraceuticals and then the scalar frequencies that you know about.
Yeah, you're really hitting it from all parts, because Chinese herbs, I always joke, I'm like, if you can't fix it, Chinese herbs can. Like
Yeah.
when in doubt, Chinese herbs. I've yet to see them fail. They are so incredible, and the way that they are formulated is amazing. And people aren't using Chinese herbs enough. And so I do see sometimes when I look at your formulas, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, Sarah, you have some Chinese herbs in here. It's just so great. It's probably why they work so well. And then you enhance them with scalar frequencies, and it is really just. I see such incredible results with your supplements, truly.
Well, thank you. I want to get into women. I feel like our women in their 40s and 50s are just under attack, and we're just can't even keep our heads above water, right? We've got weight issues, fatigue, hormonal imbalances. We're raising these kids. We've got these elderly parents we're taking care of. A lot of us are working. We're also married, so we've got the children, the parents, the spouse, probably the dogs, the financial situations, and our bodies are just out of our control. We don't know what's going on. Throw in it the spike protein and pandemic that has really rocked everybody. Let's talk about that. What do you think is going on, and why are women suffering so much?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Well, definitely women in their 40s and 50s. I have a lot of patients who are perimenopausal, menopausal, and just having a super rough go at it. But even women now, as early as teenagers, 20s, 30s, like overall, I see so many women really suffering and struggling with their health. And it's also the women who are exercising, they're eating super clean. They're like, Dr. Olivia, I cut out gluten and dairy, and I don't eat any seed oils, and I'm exercising and I'm doing all the things, I'm taking your supplements, and like I'm stuck. I still have this extra weight, I still am inflamed, I'm still have all these issues. And it's a couple of things, but the two biggest things that I'll touch on, which I would say are probably the most difficult to solve, is number one, our nervous system. So women's nervous systems are so dysregulated.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot. Sometimes too, I notice that our brain actually gets stuck. So even though we think, oh, I'm dealing with things well, like I'm going along, everything's fine, my mental might be good, I might be positive, but my body is carrying this stress. And so the brain, what I notice is the brain actually gets stuck in this literally fight or flight state or freeze. And sometimes it actually takes physical input into the brain to unstick somebody. And so I do something called primitive reflexes on people. And I do a lot of things with the brain. And primitive reflexes are like babies, when babies have those reflexes when they're younger, that's a survival mechanism for them. But I'll see them re-express in adults, which tells me that these adults are stuck in a survival mode. And when you integrate them back into the brain, it drops people from here, literally, to here. I'll have people walk out and be like, I don't know what you did, but I've never felt this way. Or I have people who have like 10 out of 10 anxiety, and they're like, oh my God, my anxiety is gone. Because it's almost like the brain is stuck in this really fight or flight. There's a lot of other techniques that, people can do as well, like meditation. I think women are going so fast, and we're such givers and nurturers and the caretakers that we forget that everything else kind of functions based on how we're doing. And we don't give ourselves that time to really like regulate.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the biggest issues, is that we're not spending enough time regulating our nervous system through things like walking outside in the sun, or meditation, or humming, or deep breathing. Like we don't even take 10 minutes to just like just regulate ourselves. And so we're going. And then you're doing the things, and you're doing the supplements, and you're doing the diet, and you're doing. And you're wondering why it's not working. And it's because your body is like, whoa, sister, like we are exhausted. And I think that is a big reason why, women are struggling hormonally and with weight gain, especially like you talked about the cortisol belly. So many women are coming to me with that and wanting to do the next thing. And I'm like, okay, wait, can we actually like slow down? Can we implement some other practices into our life? And then the other big thing that I see is a little bit more energetic, and it's the over masculinization of women.
Yeah.
And in today's day and age, sometimes women don't want to hear that, because women want like, oh, we can do it all and stuff. And it's like, okay, we can, but does that mean that we should? It's like women's hormones and our energy functions very different than men. And there's superpowers to that. And that's what I try to teach women, is that like the feminine energy, slowing down, being more regulated, working from your feminine energy, making money from your feminine energy, like all of that you can still do, but in a different way that's actually more like harmonizing for your hormones and for your energy. And I think that is a big issue because, like you said, we're doing it all. And I sometimes think we're doing too much, and that's why our bodies are rebelling.
I love that you're bringing up the feminine energy, and that's a lot of Chinese medicine. You've got the male versus the female. And I've interviewed Dr. John, Mars and Venus. Oh my gosh, my mind's going
Oh, the
blank.
book. Yes.
Yes.
Men are from
Mars and women are from Venus. And he
Yes.
talks a lot about how our men have been, they have lost their testosterone because they're living with these women that are overpowering.
Yes.
And it's the way our society is building us women up. And it's very hard to back off. I just read a book that is based on Jesus, and you don't have to be religious to appreciate this point. But when the author talks about the one word to describe Jesus, it's relaxed, because he took a lot of time to relax and build himself up to be able to heal people, to be able to do his work. And that's, you can't fill others up from an empty cup. And our goal in life as women is to take care of everybody, but then we leave ourselves depleted, and then we can't give to our loved ones that what they need and to our fullest, because we are not a whole person. And so this.
Oh yeah, sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, here's a pattern. I'm so glad you said that I see all the time for women. And I think it's really helpful for maybe your audience to just be aware of this, is like, as women, as moms, we will, take care of everybody first and put everyone's needs before ours because we think we're being a good mom, we're being a good wife, like that's what we need to do. But what women don't realize is that they are teaching their children, especially their daughters, that their needs come last and that they don't matter. Yeah. And so then their daughters grow up because they're giving all of their love to their daughters, but then they're actually teaching their daughters to do the same thing. Yeah. So then the daughters grow up in that same pattern of self-sacrifice, of putting everyone's needs before them because they watched their mom do that. And the mom's doing it out of love, obviously, but still it's like, it's such a double-edged sword. It's like, we really have to prioritize that and teach our children that, okay, like, even though of course I want to play with you, of course I want to be there for you right now, but mommy has to go do something for her, and then I'll come back and I'll be, it's like, we have to start having that conversation with our children and teaching them that, like, it's important to take care of yourself and take care of your health.
Yeah. Well, before we go, I want to touch on supplements, because when I was on my healing journey and I was at my rock bottom, my practitioner looked at me and he said, Sara, we need to build you up and give you a strong foundation, and then we'll start peeling the onion and taking care of the other stuff. And there's this, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Do we start with supplements or the emotional trauma techniques, or do we do them in conjunction? How do you use supplements in your business?
Yeah, I do it in conjunction. And so I see, okay, what's the problem? Identify it with frequency medicine. And then I ask the body, how do you want to heal from it? Is it a nutritional thing? Is it an emotional? And a lot of the times I use a lot of supplements in my practice. I use a lot of your supplements as well. And so it's whatever comes up first until it's complete. And so if I'm working on parasites with somebody, there might be an emotional thing we'll process through. There might be, some adjustment that they need. They might need a little bit of neurological work. And then at the end, they're going to need a supplement to get rid of the parasite or to support their liver detox pathways. And so I definitely use it in conjunction with all the other things that I'm doing, and in the order that their specific body wants to process something. So sometimes the supplements come first. I do a little bit of detoxing with somebody, and then all of a sudden, then their body's ready to process the emotional stuff. So it really depends.
Yeah, that's kind of, and everyone's different, right? I mean, you're going to have some people that they're so blocked that a supplement won't even penetrate or do any good, where someone else needs a whole bucket of them to start out to give them that strength and that foundation to be able to work. What would you tell the audience if they wanted to start something simple on their own at home, as far as clearing some emotional trauma? Is there anything that they can do on their own on a daily basis to help put them in a better emotional state?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite at-home techniques is called EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. It's definitely gaining some traction, but I think people underestimate the power of EFT tapping. It also uses acupuncture. So you actually tap on acupuncture points. And as you tap on the acupuncture points, you can Google EFT tapping chart and it'll show you a chart. But as you tap on the acupuncture points, you can actually repeat little mantras to yourself. And I use it for two things. I use it for installing something happy, like, that positive that I want to work on. And I'll tap that phrase, like, I have tons of energy today, and I'll tap on that. Or if I want to let go of something, if you have an emotional trauma that comes up or you're in a situation where you're like really feeling all the emotions, then you can also use it to like let go, release. Like, I know that X is, bothering me, but everything's going to be okay. Like, I forgive that person, whatever it is. And you can kind of coach yourself through it as you tap on the EFT tapping points, and it will actually remove the charge from your body. And so it's a really good way that emotional trauma and stress doesn't get stuck in the physiology, because as you tap, it's impossible to not feel a shift. Like if you do that, a full circle on one side and then the other side with whatever you're processing through, like you will feel it move through your body, and you will not be able to even feel the same charge that you once did after you go through a process.
Amazing. I love this. Well, is there anything else that we've missed that you want to make sure we cover today?
I would like to actually share one other thing. I think it's a good visual for people on frequency medicine of like, okay, how are you testing things with frequency medicine? And I want to show everybody what I use. So I use something called vial testing. And so here are my vials. And so water carries a frequency. This is really evident in Veda Austin's work, what she does with water, and you can look that up. But so each of these vials have water in them, and they have a different frequency that is shot into here. And the water carries that frequency. And so I have a bunch of different things. I have different parasite infections. I have bacteria. I have some heavy metals, some pesticides. I have vials for all sorts of things, foods. And I can take these vials, these frequencies, and I can test them on your system, on your nervous system, and see through muscle testing and frequency testing, does your body adapt to this challenge or does it go weak? And so, we all have a little bit of E. coli. This is E. coli. We all have a little bit of E. coli in our body. Okay. That doesn't mean we have an infection, but we all have like a little bit traces amount of this in our body. But for me, I might be fine, but for someone else, it might blow out their system. This frequency on their body is too much. Something's going on. So that begs the question of like, okay, let's dig a little deeper then. Maybe this is something that's growing out of control that we need to take a look at. And so that is how I use frequency medicine, is with vial testing. And I love this because vial testing picks up between 2 to 5% dysfunction, whereas labs pick up 40. You have to have around 40% dysfunction for it to show up on a lab. Wow. Frequency medicine is 2 to 5%. So I will find things that labs miss, and then we will run the labs, and then I'll see like, oh yeah. So perfect example, I found Babesia on somebody, and she already got Lyme test done. She's like, no, I only have Borrelia, like I don't have any of the other ones. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's true, but based on my testing, I'm finding Babesia, and I'm finding it in your mouth. And so I had her go to a biologic dentist. She had infections and cavitations in her root canals. She comes back with the swab with the test, and sure enough, she has Babesia in her mouth that it didn't catch in the other lab. So frequency medicine is super powerful, and there's some crazy things that you can find on people through this technique.
I love it. Well, where can people find you and work with you, Dr. Olivia?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm Dr. Grace. And I do virtuals. And so frequency medicine does work virtually, believe it or not. And so I have a lot of people that I work with virtually, and it works the same. The only thing is obviously you don't get the magic of the adjustment. I can't put my hands on you. And then also in person at the Cone Health Institute. I'm located in Southern California. So virtually or in person is the best way to contact me. Or if you have any questions, also you can just DM me on Instagram. I'm pretty good at getting back to people's questions.
Amazing. I love the way you put all the things together, because most practitioners have one art and that's it. And they've got to go to 4 different people to get what they get with you. So thank you for all of your knowledge and all of your work and everything that you do.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks for having me on.
I don't know about you, but I definitely am going to be setting my appointment up with Dr. Olivia to figure out what is the underlying emotional issues that could be causing any manifestation of physical traumas or physical ailments. And with that being said, diet is important, eating a clean diet, because if you're eating processed foods, if you're taking in a lot of toxins, your body's so clogged, it has no way of even tapping into the emotional trauma, or you're using food to stuff the emotions, right? And then you've got to look at the supplements. If most diets, even if you're eating clean, are not full of the nutrients that we once had. Our soils are depleted. So that's where the supplements come in to give you that strength and that foundation to clean out the detox pathways, open them up, strengthen the immunity, and increase ATP in the mitochondria. Why? Because your mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. That is where your energy, your cellular energy comes from. You cannot talk to your cells or have your cells talk to each other without good, strong mitochondria. So with that being said, that's where the accelerated health products come in. Dr. Olivia uses them with her patients. The, accelerated iodine is really important for your thyroid. Your thyroid is the bridge from your brain to your body. How are you supposed to have energy in your brain if your thyroid's not working, right? The iodine also decalcifies your pineal gland so that you're more connected to your higher self, to God, whatever that means to you. And it also helps detox all of the cells so that you can have better cellular communication and clear some of these traumas. And the accelerated liver care. We talked about how important the liver is. Your liver's where your detoxification happens. It supports the kidneys and vice versa. The accelerated liver care actually supports detoxifying the kidneys as well, right? And you can't have fat burning without your liver being clean. You can't have a good night's rest without your liver being clean. You can't have a strong thyroid or optimized metabolism if your liver is suffering. So these are the things where that accelerated liver care, accelerated iodine come in as just two of the many options that you can take. And once again, the accelerated health products combine Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic herbs with cutting edge nutraceuticals, and then enhanced with scalar frequencies. So for instance, the accelerated liver care has scalar frequencies to open up the meridians to the gallbladder and the liver so that herbs know exactly where to go. That's the magic of accelerated health products. So thanks for tuning in today. I hope you got some tools and inspiration to take the next steps in your journey. And it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. Head to SaraBantaHealth.com for health articles or more, and join the free group coaching on Telegram and shop your favorite supplements, some of the ones that we mentioned at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. You can use coupon podcast10 to get 10% off your first order. If you loved what you heard today and you really are intrigued with Dr. Olivia, share this episode. Not only will it help them, but it is also going to help this podcast reach more people like you. And you can find this podcast by searching Accelerated Health with Sara Banta on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, E360, iHeartRadio, and over 100 different platforms. Remember, I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So join me next time for more ways to unlock your health potential.